Hi guys, it's John from Stanley Evangelical Church, and today we're going to be doing an object lesson on Jesus, his parable, the wise and foolish builders. In this well-known passage, the Lord teaches about the value of living out his commandments, namely on the Sermon on the Mount. This parable is also recorded in Luke 6:46-49. In Matthew 7, Jesus teaches us that the true wisdom comes from trusting in him and his word. And if we build our lives on the basis of God's truth, then we'll be able to persevere when the storms of life come. If our foundation is built on our own worldly desires and our own wisdom, then we will fail when we're tested. Jesus is the only worthy foundation because of his death and resurrection. That's our only hope to overcome these storms. Even our best effort to follow Jesus' teaching must be covered and made acceptable by his grace and the righteousness of Jesus Christ. Matthew 7:24-25. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the rivers got bigger, and the wind blew and banged against the house, yet it did not fall, because its foundation was on the rock. The first part of this story that we talk about, Jesus tells us that in this passage, it's about a man who builds his house on a rock. Think about what that rock is and what it feels like. It's a very strong and sturdy, and Jesus is a rock. Is like that rock. When we have Jesus in our lives, it's like we're standing on the rock. It's an incredible feeling. We're not going to fall down when Jesus is holding us up. We have to rely on Jesus with every part of our lives. If we do not rely on Jesus, he will not let us fall. Matthew 26-27. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like the foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the rivers got bigger, and the wind blew and banged against the house. And it fell down because it had no foundation, and it crashed to the ground. The second part of this story that Jesus describes is about the man who built his house on the sand. So what is sand like? Well, it's squishy, isn't it? And it moves when we walk on it. And the world is like sand. When we build our lives on whatever we want, but not on Jesus, it's like we're standing on sand. When life is hard and the foundations we're standing on get squashy, we will fall down. Without Jesus, we fall down. The foolish man's house fell down when the storm came. Matthew 7:28-29, when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowd were amazed at his teaching. So the third part of this story, what Jesus describes is taught in this lesson. Many people were amazed because they knew that Jesus had the authority to teach them all about God. And they understood that Jesus was right and they needed to believe in him and trust in him. What about you guys? Hey, what about you? Do you want to build your life upon the rock of Jesus or on the sand? We should build our lives on the rock of Jesus Christ. That's right. We need to build our lives on Jesus and nothing else. If we believe in Jesus, then we want to know him more. How can we learn about Jesus more? Well, by reading the Bible and perhaps going to church. When we build our lives on Jesus, then we gain wisdom. But what does wisdom really mean? Well, wisdom is doing what is right in the sight of the Lord. We get wisdom when we learn more about Jesus. Having wisdom helps us to build our lives on the rock, just like Jesus wants us to. And I'd like to illustrate this with a plate and some water. I'm going to illustrate this now. So the house on the right is the house built on the rock, and the house on the left is the house built on sand. And see what happens when I pour water on them. Oh no! See, the house that's built on the sand just doesn't survive, and it comes crashing down because the wind blew, the rain got bad, and the house came tumbling down. And that is the object lesson about the wise and the foolish builder. So if you want to build your house on the rock, you need to follow Jesus.